Welcome into Home Court Press here on Spanglish World Network, Zingo TV's channel 249, 250. Joined by, once again, I haven't had you on this show for a while, Ernesto Diaz. Welcome to the show again.
Thank you, Brandon. I'm glad to be back. I had a lot of fun last time we were on, and I'm looking forward to a great show today, too.
Yeah. I've had you. We've done the games, the live streaming of the games, but I haven't had you on the show too much. And this is a perfect time to have you on the show because there is one topic that seems to be trumping all the other topics, and it hits home for you personally. So I'm gonna let you take the floor with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, man, I'm guessing it's the Kyrie
It's
situation and
Kyrie
everything that
Irving.
happened. We just had some type of finality to that, obviously, yesterday because he finally opted in. But the week before that, it was crazy, man. The Nets, there were reports that the Nets were ready to not give him the extension. He was ready to explore sign and trade options. There was a lot of speculation that because of that, because he was going to probably leave the team, that KD was going to want to leave the team as well. He wanted to go either wherever Kyrie wanted to go or somewhere where he could compete. But it was just going to blow up the whole experiment that started a few years ago. And I'm a little bit happy and relieved that there was a little bit of like closure to everything now that he's signed on his player option. Obviously, it was more beneficial for him, especially after losing out on so much money last year with the
Right.
him missing all the home games and stuff. It was smarter of him to opt in. Kind of, I'm guessing it's a good thing for the Nets as well because they don't have to commit to him long term, and it'll kind of be like a prove it contract where if he plays most of the games in the season and plays at the level that he's been expected to play and been playing for us in the last few years, it gives us the opportunity to kind of extend him the contract then after he proves himself. But the drama was crazy. I was more concerned about losing KD, honestly, because he's the more important player in the whole piece. Without him, we're really not a championship contender. And for a minute, I was thinking that we might lose him because Kyrie was going to leave. But this guarantees for at least the next year that we're going to have those two together. And I feel like next year is championship or bust for them. If next year doesn't work out and they don't win a championship, I'm not sure what the front office is going to want to do going beyond and whether they're going to keep Kyrie or whether they're just going to blow up the experiment.
Yeah, I think this has become such a saga. And I really
Yeah,
you said finality. I don't even think this is I think this is just the next chapter. This is just the next step in whatever this Kyrie saga. And I said before yesterday on Sports 10 on our show, if Kyrie could, he would be his own team. He would be his own singular franchise. He would be the New York Kyries or the Brooklyn Irvings, and he would play, just hey, you would have or four mannequins stand in different spots on the court, and he would just play himself. Like this isn't, it gets to the point where it's so mind numbing, right? Like
all
we
the
go through
distractions,
the course of the
right?
season, and to obviously to preface it, this is a team sport. So when you're doing things like this, it's affecting the rest of the team. It might not be the most obvious surface level things that we see and that the casual fans see, but within the workings of the organization, the team, like it does have an impact. This isn't
Yep.
golf, tennis, boxing, or these Olympic individual events where your own decisions only affect you. And the whatever that sport or competition is, life goes on in that situation. I this is becoming like every single season. I mean,
Yeah, man.
he doesn't seem to be like so sold on one spot. Even he's from the Jersey, New York area. He claims he wants to be there, but it's like there are so many other things that seem to impact his decisions. I mean, I want to throw the word flaky out there. Like, I mean, thinking about it, is there more unpredictable star across all of sports than
No,
Kyrie?
I can't think of one off the top of my head, honestly, other than Antonio Brown, if you even want to call him an active star. But
Ugh.
those are the only two that come to mind. You know what I mean?
That's
This whole
still,
thing with
you know what?
Kyrie
That's still
really
more off
distracting.
off the field stuff. But if we want to, even though this Kyrie stuff is so crazy, it's still within the loose confines of on the court. right? And it's
Yeah.
just, I don't know. And,
Him missing so many games
go ahead.
definitely affected the team throughout the year. You're
Yeah.
right in saying that he's been flaky because that's exactly what it's been, you know? A guy who claims to want to do anything for the team would not have missed so many games because of such a, silly reason if we want to go back to what it was, which we all know what it was. We don't have to revisit it again. But, this at least shows that the Nets kind of stood their ground a little bit. He sees how serious they are in wanting him to be available in the future if they want to extend him a long-term contract. So hopefully this will maybe get him to want to take it a little bit more serious. Barring injury, I expect him to play every game next year. I'm sure Kevin Durant's going to want him to as well. He'll get in his ear about it. You know, at the end of the day, I do feel that he still wants to be a Net because if he really didn't want to, he had the out, and he decided to sign the player option. But you're right. This is just the next chapter in the saga because once next year starts, who knows what's going to happen? The Nets have more problems than just Kyrie, and you never know if things
Yeah,
come
do
up
they?
next year's trade deadline, and this whole thing becomes a problem again.
No, this isn't just the Kyrie. It's a lot of you're not tolerating it, you're allowing it. So they seem to have enabled Kyrie to just rain off, run free, and we've seen what it is. I mean, we go back a couple years ago to the birthday party, right? It was
Yeah,
supposed to be the height of a lockdown, and he's out at a birthday party with his family. Oh, okay,
yeah,
fine. Then we go to the bubble, and it's this social issue that he finds the whole team. There seemed like everybody in the bubble was like, "Nah, we're not trying to play," except for the Lakers, but nobody seems to care about that. But that's not the point.
yeah,
We're not talking about the Lakers just yet. Um, and then it's the insurrection and it's this and that and it's like, I mean, really, are we going to get to next season, and there's going to be some three pile car accident on the New Jersey Turnpike, and is Kyrie going to miss 2 games because of it? I'm making these wild jokes, but it's not stemming from something that hasn't already been there. He's
exactly.
got to be like, look, and we saw the video the other day where the guy, he's asking him, do you want to be a Brooklyn Net? And he's like, pass it to
Yeah,
my left. Like, what kind of, come on, what kind of answer would LeBron ever be like to Savannah? Pass it to my left. Like, come on, bro. Like, you have to show that you're committed. You can't just say these half, commitments, and then do what you do. So it's, look, you're apparently you're happy to be a Net. You opted into this contract. Just go play basketball already. Enough. It's enough.
and this will be the year to prove it. You know what I mean? He's been given the chance. These last 3 years haven't gone according to plan. He's played less than half the games per year, like on an average basis. If you add all the games that he's played throughout these 3 years, and I feel like it's a perfect situation because at least we keep Kyrie. It ensures that we keep KD on the team for one more year. Hopefully, he doesn't get injured. Apart from injury, I don't see any other reason why he should miss in games. There's no more mandates or anything anymore. This is going to be the year for him to prove it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. And look, you know what? We still haven't even addressed the Ben Simmons issue. Like, coaching is still a major issue that we've kind of put on the back burner, just in this moment while Kyrie's saga continues, or seems to be paused for now. So we'll see what the Nets go into next season. You still don't have a forward on the team that's not named Kevin Durant, so you have a lot of roster issues as well. But
Exactly.
yeah, look, but if bringing in Kyrie and securing him, that's obviously the major domino that they have to knock down, and they did. And we'll see what they do as the rest of the summer unfolds, because free agency, trade, it's a buzz. But there's one topic that I saw today, and you have a quote for it. Draymond Green, man,
Great pod.
he is thriving in this podcasting life. He was on this podcast, Old Man in the Three. I think it was JJ Redick, and he
Yeah,
was
JJ
basically, you
Redick.
have the quote, and I want you, because I don't want to mess it up. I want you to read the quote.
So this was the quote. Draymond Green quoted it on Old Man and the Three podcast, talking about 2016, those finals that the Warriors lost, and them getting Kevin Durant. Quote, I don't think the outside world gave Kevin enough credit. I think if you came within our organization, Kevin was given all the credit. I think for us within the organization, we did everything we could to make Kevin comfortable. We did everything we could to let him know, just like this is our home. This is your home too, brother. And then he says, quote, we would not have beat the Cavs coming back around without Kevin. And here's why. Teams had us figured out. And I personally don't think at that point Steph Curry had figured out, quote, I'm going to get a bucket whenever I want to. I think he was capable of that yet, but he was still growing into
it. It's really,
quote, by the way.
It's not right. It's just not the way it was. Nobody figured the Warriors out. Okay, so right, they had 2014 to 15. We'll just start with the first championship year. Yeah, that we know what happened with the Cavs. Kyrie, Kevin Love are out, and Matthew Dellavedova is the second best Cav. We know how
They
that
still
series
took
played out.
games,
Right, and
even without those two players.
yeah, but to this day, that's the Warriors. They were completely, that was all them. And then the next year, they 2014, 15, so 15, 16, they lose, right? So the 3-1, 73 wins. That I don't see that as teams figuring you out, because even if they had time to figure you out, you added Kevin Durant, which now changed the whole complexion of the team. So that was another. So those were two iterations of the team. Nobody figured you out, Draymond. Like that's not true at all.
I wouldn't necessarily disagree with him, honestly, because you got to think about it this way. In those playoffs, 2016, they blew the 3-1 lead, right? Even though they went 73-9, in those playoffs, they went 15-10, which under Steve Kerr is their worst playoff percentage that they've had in all those years that he's been coaching them. So in a way, I do kind of see his point. They were kind of getting figured out because they went down 1-3 against OKC before the finals. They happened to come back miraculously, and then in the finals, they happened to blow a 3-1 lead. And I know there were kind of extracurricular circumstances with Draymond getting suspended and all that, but at the end of the day, you still blew a 3-1 lead, having the MVP of the league on your team. And you can necessarily say that like Kevin Durant was needed on that team. Like obviously it made it overkill because they were already a great team as constructed, but they did need another piece to kind of put them over the top because the Cavaliers were a great squad still. Those next 2 years, even though they lost to those Warriors in the finals, they were a juggernaut in the East. I don't know if you remember, but I think it was in 2017, they went like 15-1. Or not 15-1, 12-1 throughout the East playoffs. And they only, started losing games consistently when they ran into that Warriors team that had Kevin Durant on it. So, in a way, I kind of see what he means. The league was getting better at that point. But, you kind of raised a good point as well because they did go 73-9. Who knows what could have happened had they actually won that finals? Maybe KD wouldn't have joined them. It's really interesting to think about, but I kind of agree with Draymond in his assessment of it.
No, that's that point. But then there's the Steph Curry part of the comment where come on. I mean, at that point, before KD arrived,
what about it do you disagree with?
You're telling me Steph Curry, it took up to this point for him to be able to create his own shot and to be like, I can get whatever shot I want whenever I want. Give me the damn ball, whatever. Like, are we kidding?
I don't think he necessarily meant creating his own shot in the sense that you think it is. Like, I do get what he means because he was talking about in that podcast and in that quote about how Steph used to be getting knocked around a lot easier than he does nowadays. We've seen in the last couple of years his physique has been a little bit more muscled up, and Steph himself has said that him kind of getting more lean and getting more muscle on him has helped his balance and him being able to stay sturdy on the court, not create as many turnovers. And I kind of see what he's talking about, but at the same time, it's not really hard to see where you're coming from because it does sound ridiculous when you say that Steph Curry, a guy who's a two-time MVP and a leading scorer in the league,
And
can't
shoots
get his own
threes
shot.
from
It does sound
600 feet away, like it's a layup, and has been for Jesus, so like almost a decade now. Yes, he
yeah,
had been in
man.
for a couple of years, but he very early on it was some injuries stuff, and then obviously this 8 year plus run now has gone on. I just think the idea that he couldn't get, or however you want to slice up the comment, to analyze it, I still think it just, if I'm Steph, that's not like, I get you're in still this the honeymoon phase of winning this title. It's just, I don't know how well that would sit with me if I'm Steph. And
I mean,
another thing is
he
with
still
the
talks crazy and stuff like
yeah.
because you know that he has to kind of put on a persona for those podcasts, but it was cool of him to kind of acknowledge that they needed KD to kind of become the dynasty that they ended up becoming. A lot of people think that this dynasty only involves this ring and the 2015 ring. They forget that KD was a part of it. And it's just pretty cool to see Draymond acknowledge that.
I know. I think the way it is look, you had gotten your chip, the three of you, Kevin Durant nowhere to be found. This was the championship to embrace that it was just you. You didn't need to rehash and bring up the Kevin Durant era of this level, run of dominance. So I don't. So it, it's
I
just
mean, it
like
is important to bring it up because this is four titles, right? That they've won. Two of them were with Kevin Durant. They only won one other one without him. So, you know, it's important to shout him out. I feel like I don't blame him for it at all.
it's just I know it's probably I just the way I interpreted it. It's just like, and if I'm Steph, it's just not the greatest thing I would have liked to hear. Maybe just from that sense, like it wasn't necessarily bad, but it wasn't. Maybe that wasn't the smartest thing you could have said. Because
Yeah,
like
that's pretty close.
that's how people are going to interpret it, as it
Yeah,
took Steph this many years forgetting the titles, forgetting the MVPs. Now he can finally create his shot, and that
yeah.
narrative is going to floating out there now. So it's Draymond is
Draymond's
really
had
loving this podcast life.
Draymond's had his podcast for a year, and we haven't seen his teammates call him out on anything that he's like discussed on his podcast concerning them. But we'll see if it becomes a problem in the future. You know what I mean? Next year's going to be
No,
a big
well,
like.
unless Clay and Steph Curry have burner accounts, then I think everything will be all right. But yeah, no, but going, so we talk about these two stories, the Kyrie specifically, and this Draymond, not so much of a huge story. It's just kind of eye-opening comments that I had to just address. But for free agency now, we have a few minutes left on the show. Free agency trade is heating up. Today alone, I mean, we can go back the last few days, but today alone has been crazy. I have like the timelines of the updates. So just before we were getting ready to do the show at 6 o'clock on your Brooklyn Nets, Patty Mills declined his option, which
Yeah, man.
whatever. And before that, the Hawks trading Gallinari and a bunch of picks to the Spurs
That was really
for DeJounte Murray.
that's
I think
awesome,
that's
man.
great.
That's going to make them a big contender in the East next year.
The thing with that specifically is the Hawks were so forward driven. I feel like they had, obviously you have Trae Young, but how many forwards did they have? You didn't have really a lot of backcourt help that you could really complement with Trae, or you can put on the floor when Trae's on the bench to really balance out the scoring attack and balance out how much pressure and the load that you're putting on Trae. DeJounte Murray,
Mm.
that he's very young, but I feel like after the guys in San Antonio, Tim Duncan, and after they left Kawhi, even the guys in San Antonio were somewhat forgotten about. Right, they kind of
Yeah,
stepped back into the shadows a little bit. DeJounte Murray to the Hawks, I think, is a very good pickup. Um, the 76ers and Harden. So Harden declined his nearly $50 million option, but
very
they'll
surprised.
yeah, but they'll rework that. And he's, I mean, look, is he
Don't
gonna
get
pull another situation too?
you don't normally see a player declining that much money on an option. It looks like he really cares about them being able to build the roster to kind of put them in championship contention. We'll see how it goes though, but I'm really surprised about it. But it's a nice move by the
Or
76ers.
or you only decline it if you know you have there's an option in the background that selects some long contract or some extension with Philly. Look, I think. Look, does he want to have another situation? I mean, him and Kyrie, again, the two of them. I think Harden is going to be. I think he'll finish out his career in Philly. I don't think that with Kyrie in Brooklyn. But that's a whole
We
nother
know somebody
conversation.
we know somebody who's finishing something out is Russell Westbrook because he's gonna opt into his contract too.
Yeah, so after a lot of people were expecting and campaigning for the two of them, Westbrook and the Lakers, to split, that seems to not be the case with him opting in. But it's the Lakers. They have these whole other issues where they're so concerned about these first round picks in 8, 6, 5, 5, 6, 7 years from now, where the kids are in seventh grade. Like they're worried about seventh graders now. When you still have Anthony Davis on the roster, like you could still go win a damn chip. And they seem to be
Yeah,
playing this futures game.
it's gonna be made hard though because they still have Westbrook on the books. He looks like he's gonna keep on declining even more. I wouldn't be happy about having him on the team still.
Well,
Um,
well, you hear Daryl
Anthony
Ham.
Davis
He wants to make him
older,
defensive
LeBron
now.
getting older. You know, everybody's getting older on that team. There's not a lot of youth on it, so I don't know. I wouldn't be too optimistic as a Lakers fan about that squad.
Yeah, they youth. They just signed Sharif O'Neal. What are you talking about? That's as young as it gets right there. But like,
Man,
but it's
gonna make
the
an impact
Lakers.
on the team to help them get over the top? Not at all. Not at all. I'll
But
put my
I'm
life on that.
but just over 2 hours ago, one player that he's on a team that seems to just be forgotten about. But if he were to get out and to land on a good team, a contender team, that can take them over the top. We have a minute left. Bradley Beal declining
Mm-hmm.
his $36.5 million option. I'm a free agent. He is out. There is no way he is a wizard come next season. Could he could really take a team over the top. I would love him to take his talents to South Beach. Come on down, Bradley Beal. I mean, we hear the reports a couple of days ago with
Hey,
Kyrie having the
if you
Heat
got
on his wish list. I almost lost my mind.
he could take them
I
over the
wouldn't.
top.
Yeah, yeah. I think Bradley Beal because you're solidifying just another star to get you over the top. The 3-point shooting. I mean, that would be him and Jimmy Butler and Bam. I think that would be great. He's so perfect for Heat culture too. Because look, Kyle Lowry's getting old. Hero is still young. Gabe Vincent Struce, they're young. But that is our time. Next week, time 6:30 Wednesday. Ernesto, you're welcome to join back on. That's going to do it for us. Brandon Kaye,
Ooh,
Ernesto here on Home Court Press. We'll see you next week.
see you guys.